All right, welcome to Gaming is in Session, the Game Awards recap, otherwise known as What the Game Awards Got Wrong. Adam, you watched the Game Awards last night, right? Or did you just recap later?
Oh no. I was late to the party, but I did watch it, and I think this is interesting. We don't want to harp over who won the awards, all that, but what fundamentally, Alex, what's wrong with the Game Awards? What are they doing?
Yeah, this is a thing that's always bothered me about the Game Awards is like obviously video games don't stand in the same atmosphere or space as like movies, right? And it does seem like now that video games like have a budget and income, an economy larger than Hollywood, I believe. Why don't we have something equivalent to the Oscars? Now this was the 10th year of the Game Awards. I think the very first time they did the Game Awards, it was on Spike TV. Do you remember that?
I remember Spike TV. I don't remember them being on Spike TV, but yeah.
Yeah, it was like the stupidest like dude bro channel. I think is Spike TV at night. All they showed was Girls Gone Wild commercials. Like it was
They
very
showed all the old James Bond movies. It was awesome. I love Spike TV. F you, Alex.
back in the. It got better, but initially it was like show for men. It just there's a latent immaturity for the Game Awards. This was like the closest it's gotten to like a real award ceremony that you might be. I guess I should say all other Game Awards shows I'd seen before this. If I had won an award, I might be embarrassed to be there and win the award. And you still see that a little bit, right? Like this year, they drug Harrison Ford on stage, and it was kind of like you could see in his eyes, like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, what is this? Like, what is this like kid fest going on?
So I think to even dive deeper into this, Alex, I have an argument to support what you're saying that we need to take this more seriously. That's your
Yeah,
kind of your concern, right? Like it's
that's
not
my
legit.
thesis.
Yeah.
Either we need to take it more seriously, or what can we do to make it be taken more? Because I think Jeff Keighley, the guy behind this, who runs this and makes it, I think he wants it to become the Oscars for video games. I think he wants it to be taken seriously, but it just kind of isn't, right? Like
Yeah.
nobody at work the next day is talking about the Game Awards. Even people who are gamers are not talking to you the next day at the Game Awards. Did you hear who won Game of the Year? Nobody cares, right?
But here's my that's not an argument to what you're saying, but the reason I think you're correct, what also was yesterday, what is the most, or we'll say one of the most watched events in the world on a weekly basis in the world?
Football.
Football.
Yeah.
Same night of the Game Awards, there's Thursday night football that is free to watch, two playoff competing teams, free on Twitch and Amazon Prime. And so I was watching that. It had 90,000 people on Twitch watching that. All right, which again is football is huge. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
That's like the golden standard. We're obsessed. The world is obsessed with football. Now, I was on Twitch and that's where I watched the Game Awards streams. And no, there were a lot of streams hosting that. And I just watched
Yeah.
one of them. Guess how many people were watching that stream?
2000.
70,000.
Oh,
That's
okay.
one stream on Twitch.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of other ones. That's why this has the potential that if they do and execute well, it has the audience. You're pulling probably more than Thursday night football, which is wild.
Yeah. I mean, could you watch that Thursday night football at the same time on network TV?
No, it's only on Prime.
Yeah. So
Now,
like,
admittedly, maybe if you're watching it on Amazon Prime, it doesn't show up on Twitch, right? But
yeah.
a lot of people watch it on Twitch. It's already up. It's easily accessible. It's free. Like me, I don't have Prime. I think it at least is telling us it's within the ballpark. And
Yeah.
the audience is there. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. So I agree. Let's make this thing legit. But why is it not legit right now? Let's get into that.
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest reason it's not legit is the award categories we have, right? The award categories are dumb. Like, think about the Oscars, right? You have a best actor, a best actress, best supporting actor, best supporting actress, best director, and best picture, right? Like that's That is how it works. It's clear cut rules, and all of those have corollaries for the most part in video games. And maybe you don't have best actor, best actress, but you can have a best protagonist. You can have a best
Sure.
antagonist, which is a little bit, pretty similar. Um, like for example, right? Best so they'll have the best song in the Oscars. What is the best song? And throughout the Oscars ceremony, they will perform each one of the songs, and then before they give the award, you've now heard all the songs. You know you have an educated guess as to what the best song should be. This they performed a couple songs, but they don't have a best sound design. They don't have a best song. They have a best sound design in music. And I get it, right? Like they're wanting to do like what game sounds the best, what game has the best soundtrack, and they're trying to be holistic about it. But to me, that doesn't seem like quite an accomplishment compared to like what is just straight up the best song? What is the best song?
But see, I don't necessarily agree with that. Now, I think it's fine if they want to have a category that's the best song, but I think to be able to make an entire soundtrack for a 60-hour game and you have multiple bangers in there is really impressive. Whereas maybe you have something like Undertale or you have something like Balatro that there's not many songs, and yeah, they had a good one, but that's not as impressive as what Final Fantasy Rebirth is doing, right? So, and yeah, I don't know. I don't mind that category as much, but yeah, if they want to have a separate song, I think what they have to do to make it legit, in my mind, is when you have the Oscars, it's always controversial, right?
Yeah.
People are saying they should have won. That's bull crap. Are you kidding me? She was horrible in that movie, or that plot to that sucked. And I maybe it's the people I'm hanging around in, or maybe I'm not reviewing the right message boards. I don't feel the controversy. Do you think? I mean, can that even happen in games? Maybe this year there wasn't enough competition for it to be controversial. I don't know. Do you think that's possible?
No, I certainly think it's possible because nobody's whinier about their favorite thing not getting accolades than video
That
gamers, right?
that's the point. Yeah,
So
yeah.
the controversy's there. I think so. To my previous point, you're right. They do have a best sound category in the Oscars, which I think is fine. I appreciate sound design, right? Like Silent Hill 2 doesn't have the best music, but it does have amazing sound design. And so they should have a sound design category. That's cool. But there's also a best original score or best original song, like the best song. And the reason I like that is that there are movies that aren't great, but there's a song in there that's so good and it really pushes things forward. And video games can do the same thing. There are games like Deadly Premonition. I love the game. It's not the best game ever, but there's songs in there that are just like, wow, they put that song in. I know you, Adam, you love Kingdom Hearts. Like Kingdom Hearts, I don't think would ever win Best Sound Design. It should probably win an award for one of the best songs, right? Like,
Should win best sound design, but I mean, my only concern is that, and I think it's the way they want to organize it, and it's subjective, right? For me, I would rather award a team for the best overall game music score, like all of it, not just a
yeah.
single game. But I see your point where, like, yeah, you like the fact that some rinky-dink game that maybe sucks has one really good song, but then all these other games, like Nier Automata, they might not win, even though they clearly have the best game sound and soundtrack that I think you and I agree of anyone in the freaking history of video games, probably. But they might not win it that one year because Undertale had one cool song. Like, I don't like that fact.
So
But you can't have too many categories either. So I can't be like, oh, you need to have best song, best soundtrack, best sound design. Like you can't have too many because then you're diluting and the words mean nothing, right?
Well, I mean, I don't think that's necessarily true. Like the Oscar has what, 25 different categories or something like that. So you don't have to show them all. And they don't even on the Game Awards, they like burn through some of these. There's some of the Oscars that aren't even put on TV. You just look it up and see. And it is meaningful. Like those people feel accomplished. I think let's bring this together. You said controversy is a selling point. Um, and I think the reason there's no controversy is aside from like my favorite game, people aren't invested because you can't get invested in a best score because it's so broad. And they do that in movies. They have a best original score, which is like the body of music, the body of sound for this movie. And that's hard to get invested in to fight about. But a best song is like oh, you can hold up your favorite Kingdom Hearts song. I can hold up my favorite Nier Automata song. And then we have something that we can really kind of argue about and evaluate and have objective discussions about. Whereas best score is like, well, there's like five things here I liked, and there's five things there you liked, and it's kind of what means the most. So like I think I'm sure they've taken cues after the Oscars, and I'm sure the Oscar viewership maybe has dropped off, but it still holds respect and like the cultural mind. So things like that really bother. Let's move on from sound.
Mhm.
Like best sound design here was Hellua or Hell Sinuous Sacrifice, Hellblade 2, Sinuous Sacrifice. I get sound design because it's got cool sound stuff going on, but like I don't know, like there's games out there with amazing music that just don't get recognized because it's all encompassing sound design. Next one is this is the dumbest award, Player's Voice, which is basically they just put they pick like five games to put up and users vote on it. So you go on their
Just
website and
like the
vote for your
best
favorite
voice
game.
acting.
No, players' voice isn't like the players get to vote on the best game.
Oh,
Which
okay. I mean, I don't hate that. Wait, why
no,
don't
there's
you like that?
because that has nothing to do with that. Why don't we just put it on Reddit and have upvotes or something like that? Like that means nothing. It means who has the most popular fan base. It's like saying let's give an award to the movie that sold the most tickets in the Oscars, and that would be Fast and Furious 3 that year, which is obviously not the best movie that came out, right?
What did they pick? I'm curious.
Black Myth Wukong, which is a good game, I'm sure, because it got nominated for other stuff. However,
It didn't
eh,
win. Did it win anything? I think it won one award, right?
I think it won Best Action Game, which is fine. Black Myth Wukong isn't an issue. The issue with the Player's Voice Award is I think every single year it's existed, it is a Chinese game that wins because China comes out in force because it's the internet and they vote for the Chinese
Oh,
game.
yeah, you do. Yeah, the popularity contests I think are interesting, but yeah, you can't put much weight in them. I mean, people make bots, right? And they could just
Yeah.
have a ton of bots that vote for one thing. Or yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, I'm sure any Nintendo game is probably going to win, right? When there's a big release, like I would
It
imagine.
doesn't. No, let me look up the Game Awards Players Voice winners. The Game Awards Players Voice winners. And I don't want to denigrate Black Myth Wukong. I'm sure it's great, but it's always like 2022, the game that won Players Voice. So this is the players deciding what the best game of the year was. Genshin Impact.
Oh, I played that. It was, yeah, that's not.
Yeah,
It is,
yeah.
but see, that's where you get some controversy. Because my first reaction is that's freaking bullcrap. Those people are idiots. And then I go to online, and now I get in fights with people because if someone else picks it, right? It's like, oh, I that's bullcrap, and they're like, well, but that's who the critics voted for. But now that you're like, that's what I voted for. And I'm like, you're stupid. And that's what can cause the controversy, maybe.
But that's what dilutes the respect and the prestige of something that the Game Awards could be. That's my whole point. Is like the Game Awards. Nobody cares about the Game Awards. You're not going to buy a game because it won the Game Awards. Nobody's. I
Uh,
mean,
I mean, I'm more tempted to play Black Myth Wukong now.
you're not wrong. It's like a career landmark for an actor. Like if an actor wins an Oscar, their salary just bumped up for all the next movies they're making, right?
Yeah.
If you worked on Black Myth Wukong and it won a Player's Voice Award, that's going to do nothing for you. And in the eyes of the gaming community at large, it's like, oh, that's who had the most like nerds on the internet voting for it. Genshin Impact had the most nerds on the internet voting for it. It's a the players shouldn't be voting for this. This is not that's the People's Choice Awards on the movie side, and nobody watches that because nobody cares what the people think. They care about what people who know what's going on thinks.
Yeah, but then they like to the controversy where it comes in is you as the player or as the watcher in that case for the Oscars, you disagree with the people who are supposed to know what they're talking about. So
Yeah,
you're saying I know better. The players know better than what these freaking critics. We know IGN, right? They're
yeah.
idiots, especially with like VR games. Like they don't know what they're talking about. It's clearly they don't play the games, some of them, before they review them. So why should their vote count and mine not when I played the VR game, right? So that's maybe the
But
argument.
that argument you're making, that's what gives it That's what gives it the cultural zeitgeist, right? Every time the Oscars are released, it becomes a hot topic of like, why did that one win over that one? I had no say in the matter. I think this is better. But now we're diluting it with like, oh, let's let the people decide a little bit too. It. I get that the people should get a voice and it matters what people played and stuff like that. But like, I'm just a Joe Schmo. I'm not a guy who plays video games for a career. We should maybe leave it up to the professionals to some degree to at least pick what they think was best, whether or not we agree with it. And that adds a controversy, but that also adds the legitimacy to the awards. Have a Player's Voice Award. Don't show it on TV because I don't give a damn.
How do we
Next,
know? And this is maybe for a different video. I don't know. How do we know it's not rigged? That's why I always think is that these. What if like I don't know, From Software just paid these freaking Game Awards people a bunch of money to they're essentially paying for the vote. Like I don't know that you can't pay for players' votes.
you can by just giving them free stuff or showing them boobs like on Genshin Impact.
I mean, I don't know. I don't
Think
know.
about this.
I guess
How
either
would you
way, you
feel?
could have an argument that it's rigged, I guess, right? You're never going to eliminate that.
Yeah, you're always going to have an argument that it's rigged, but like it's too complicated to rig. I mean, there's always argument the Oscars are rigged or something like that, but it's
People, when you only have 50 people, I don't know, I made that number up, voting on these awards, it's easy to bribe those people,
but
right?
you just need one person to slip up. The whole thing with the conspiracy theories is they require a large number of people to all be on the level and not give up the information. So
And they have. The moon landing was fake. What's the next category?
next stupid category, content creator esports shit. I don't give a
Oh.
damn.
But
Do you want to watch the Oscars?
we don't care, but do younger people, younger gamers, like there's a guy that I know, he loves that crap. Maybe he does care.
When I would only care if I knew who any of them were. And I'm reading video game news all day, every day for the most part, and I don't recognize a single name in these things. And maybe it's because I'm an old guy, but the reality is, do we really want to give an award to best movie watcher for the Oscars? The guy who's best at watching movies. Esports guys have their own tournament. They have esports
But
tournaments,
there's
right?
no skill in watching a movie. There is
No,
skill in playing some of these games.
but that says nothing about the games. This is the game awards. This isn't the game players awards. Have your own separate gaming Olympics and celebrate that, which they probably
Okay,
do.
I mean that. Okay, so that point I see and I agree with, but I don't know if there is another platform that they
Yeah,
get.
Evo, the fighting game championship. They have those things. I mean, the esports in and of themselves have tournaments to do this stuff. It's so Roger Ebert never won an Oscar. And that's not because he was a bad critic, he was a revolutionary critic, but he has no business winning an Oscar because he is a critic. He's not making the games. This should be a ceremony that's rewarding the people who are making the games, not people making stuff about the games.
I mean, I can see it is the category. I honestly don't care, but
My point is it dilutes the legitimacy of the awards. And the goal is to get the awards to have legitimacy so it means something. So that I could potentially open Time magazine and see who won game of the year. I don't have to open Game Informer, which is an advertisement rag for GameStop.
I, yeah, I don't know.
Could
Okay,
you
next one.
could you imagine the New York Times entertainment section going over, oh, who was the best content creator esports player this
Yeah,
year?
they would never do that. But
Well,
what
they
they
do that.
do, like, I don't think the fact that that's a category is going to prevent them from talking about who won Game of the Year, or who won Best Soundtrack, or who won Best Plot, or who won Best Protagonist, etc. They
It
just put
will.
it in that category.
It will because it
If you
makes
have a
the
bunch
entire
of
purpose of
bad
the award
categories,
stupid.
yeah, if you have a bunch of bad categories, maybe, right? Then it becomes more of like the Sharknado are winning
Yeah,
categories and crap. But I don't know if they've diluted it enough. Like, if you, I could say how many categories they have. What, 10, 15, something like that?
15, something like that. Yeah.
So let's say you can't have a third of them be stupid. If you have five categories that are stupid, that's no good. But if you have one or two, like this thing right here, best esport player, I don't think that's going to kill it.
They have a well, they one, if they have a stupid one, they shouldn't spend time on it. They spent time on this. Two, the next one, best team, best esports team.
Uh
Okay, I double don't give a shit, right?
yeah. Yeah, that's
But the player's voice, another dumb award. So like a third of the awards being talked about on TV are things that mean nothing. It means might mean to the people that win it because they like to play and they're getting recognized for it. They get recognized in other venues, right? The player's voice gets recognized because the games sell like hotcakes. They get their money. This is to celebrate things that otherwise you wouldn't you wouldn't experience. Like the Oscars, right? Most movies that go up for the Oscars, nobody's watched until they're in Oscar contention. They're like, hey, smart people who know what's going on said these movies are great. Now I'm going to watch all the Oscar winners and see what really good movies are. I'm not going to go through all the Game of the Award winners because guess what? One of them is going to be Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And it's like, I know exactly what that is. It's Fast and the Furious 6. I don't care.
I think of the ones you rated there, I would have the Players Award, I think, is better than the esport winner. And then that is better than esports team. Like I'm ranking them,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
Of which ones should go in. Yeah, the team, yeah, you can't have too much of that stuff because it's, yeah, who cares? Okay,
It makes no
there another
sense.
one?
There's one I think they should fix. Best adaptation. So this was like they made a show about League of Legends. They made a show about Fallout. They made a show about Castlevania. And I get that like that's video game related, but it's not game related. I think my problem with that is that now it's just what's the best show? This is the Game Awards.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So I think what they need to do is flip it. They need to, and even though these aren't great games, an adaptation. What is the best game based on a book? What is the best game based on a movie? What is the best game based on like an album? Like that to
How
me
often
means
does
so
that
much
happen?
more.
Like it's a movie first or a show first, and then they turn it into a game.
All the time. All the
Oh,
time.
really?
And yeah, James Bond, Goldeneye, right?
Oh,
Goldeneye might not have been the best game that year. Maybe it was, but it should get recognized as like, wow, they set the tone for a game based on something else. They do this in the Oscars too. Best adaptation. It'll be the best
yeah,
movie
but is
that
there
was a
any way it's not just a freaking superhero game?
yeah, all the I mean, that's the thing. It would push the medium to do that kind of stuff. I mean, best adaptation for a soundtrack. Radiohead made a game based on their Kid A album. It was very artistic, it was very avant-garde, it was very cool and interesting because it wasn't just based on a superhero thing. That should have been recognized, but nobody talked about it even though everybody who experienced it loved it and thought it was really cool. It doesn't I mean, there's books, right? Like I mean, people hate this, but they made a Harry Potter game that was people loved. They were so amazed that, oh my God, there's a good Harry Potter video game. I don't give a crap about Harry Potter, but that is an achievement that they took
Yeah.
source material elsewhere and made a really good game out of it. That's an accomplishment, and it's pushing the video game medium forward. Instead, we're getting like, what was the best decent TV show based on a video game that has a video game in its name? Fallout was good. I enjoyed Fallout. I'm sure Arcane's an excellent show, but it has very little to do with League of Legends beyond nominally being League of Legends related.
My only, so I ultimately I agree with you on this point. This should go in the whatever the TV show awards are, right? Not the game awards. However, I think the argument against that to play devil's advocate is the to make a good game of a TV show or movie, you are relying on that other thing to have and be good enough to provide you source material. So you, if you're a developer, may have gotten paid to make a movie on or sorry, a game on I
Toy
don't
Story,
know.
Toy Story,
Or
G.I. Joe, Ghostbusters.
married with children. And it's
Yeah.
like, what? That's horrible source material. You don't stand a chance. Whereas Harry Potter, there's a lot of options. But if you flip it, if you make a game that has so much source material, the plot is so enticing, the characters are loved, that can, like, you did a good job building the universe that can source other material. So I still would think I agree with you, but I think there's an argument to be made that making the primary source material is the bigger accomplishment than mooching off someone else's source material.
No, I disagree. because you can look at like GoldenEye, for example. It took GoldenEye is not a great movie. It's fine, it's fun. The game was groundbreaking for its time. That's an amazing accomplishment, right? Like you take something that people are lukewarm about and you make it something they love. That's what these things should be doing. You do the same thing with shoot,
Yeah, but like it
Groundhog's Day.
had the material,
No,
even
no,
if it
no.
was that fantastic movie. It's a dude who's a freaking super agent, secret agent, whatever, and he's shooting bad guys, and there's missions,
No,
and
here's another example. Here's another example. Groundhog Day. Have you seen that movie? Bill Murray reliving the same day. There's no
yeah,
action. They made a Groundhog Day VR, and it's good, and it's funny, and it's entertaining, and it's groundbreaking and stuff. It's such a good puzzle game based on the concepts of Groundhog Day. It's mind blowing, but nobody talks about it. This would be the situation where like, oh, wow, somebody did something creative with original source material and turned it into a video game that's actually a good game to play. That should be celebrated.
I just don't think that's gonna beat Harry Potter. And it's not because that development team of the VR game did a bad job. They did a great job. But the
Why?
source material of Harry Potter is greater and it makes a more enticing game and a longer game and a more impressive game and like
But if you held them up together and said what was the best adaptation of the source material, even though Harry Potter might have been a better game at the time, this is a better adaptation of a game, a more groundbreaking adaptation of the game.
you have to be very careful on saying it's not the best game, it's just the most creative use of the most creative adaptation, which in that case I think would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, there's nuance to it, but I think that's what they should be doing. Here's the categories they should be having, Adam. We talked about like obviously best game, best action, best RPG, best mobile game. I'm fine with that. Maybe replace mobile with like handheld or something like that, but something like that. That's cool. I get it. Best performance, so like voice actor performance, I get it. Or best, just acting now. Games are almost like movies where you're just acting. And game of the
Sure.
year, that makes sense. What they didn't have best animation. They need to have best animation. There's games with groundbreaking animation that's a game changer. Think about back in the day, Prince of Persia, the first Prince of Persia, groundbreaking animation. That's a technical aspect that needs to be rewarded. Best gameplay engine, right? Unreal Engine 5 is amazing. It should be celebrated for being launched. That's a technological achievement. Best gameplay loop. So think about like puzzle games you love. They have no hope of winning anything, but I don't want to do a best puzzle game, but the gameplay loop for Balatro should be rewarded specifically for that addictive gameplay loop that's so fun to play and so difficult to put down, such that even if there's no story, even if there's, not great music or something, it's being rewarded for that. But it's being left out in the cold because there's other games focused on, best, I don't know, narrative or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it bothers me. It bothers me, Adam.
sure. I think yeah, best protagonist and antagonist I think would be good. We already kind of touched on that. Like
Yeah.
would be uh, like why is that not? Now, granted, I don't know. I could just see it being a bunch of crap, and it's the most left-wing characters possible. Aloy is going to win every freaking year, or Mario, but like it should be a category. I think.
And I think that's better. I think that's a more fruitful discussion. Who is more significant this year? Astrobot or Mario? Like that's a good head-to-head discussion. Less about the games, but more about who's the better character and who's the best newly identified character. I think that's a good discussion to be having for games rather than which one was the best esports player.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
The okay,
let's
any more complaints? What?
no.
No,
It's
I
a kids show. The Game Awards is a kids show. I would feel embarrassed at work if I was watching the Game Awards on my phone and somebody walked by and watched me watching the Game Awards. That's what I'm going to say. You got to get over that hurdle. You got to add some credibility and legitimacy to this, and this is how you're going to do it. Don't talk about fatality is the best esports player. It's stupid.
I I mean I'd feel embarrassed watching the Oscars. I feel like too. The Yeah, I agree. And what they have the potential because I was shocked. I think the audience is there.
Hmm.
And I mean maybe is it I don't know if it's as simple as changing these categories, right? Following our advice, but I think it would be a step in the right direction, right? The other thing, I don't want to harp on it, we want to leave with this, is I feel like it needs to be to me the announcements that we're going to have a separate video for. need to be bigger. This needs to be like nothing really moved the needle for me. You want people to be like, wow, like they have to, even if they don't care about the awards, they want to see what's been announced. What's the next biggest thing? I
Yeah.
think that would help with the legitimacy as well.
I have issues with that, but I don't disagree. And I think this had some of the biggest announcements that they've ever had in the Game Awards. Adam, before we close this out, let's at least talk about our opinions on Astrobot. How do you feel? Astrobot won Game of the Year. What are your thoughts?
I guess I'm fine with it. I mean, ultimately it's a fantastic game. It's just a little disappointing that, or not even disappointing. It's challenging to me that you have a game. Now, again, I didn't love Final Fantasy Rebirth. I didn't love it, but it's hard with the graphics and the length. And I mean, there was a card game, a mini game in there that was so it was better than Balatro. It could be its own game in itself and probably win game awards. And yet it didn't win anything other than best score, I think. And Astrobot won game of the year. Like that to me is a hard pill to swallow. You just look at the two games and Astrobot won, but I mean it's very accessible. It's fun. And that's those are the type of game I like, more adult centered games, right? Not the little things that your kids can play. If a kid can play it and would like it, I don't want to play it because I don't know. That's the way I roll. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I think I'm more disappointed, I guess, that there weren't better contenders. Maybe it's just a weak year. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
it's hard for me to pick any of the other nominees over Astrobot. I like you was also kind of like, I mean, I'm fine with Astrobot winning. I was fine with it, and then the guy who won, Nicholas Doucet, he gave a speech that I thought was pretty good, and it's anti what you just said. He said, not only is this a game that was a labor of love, and we all worked really hard, and everything came together really well, and it was kind of an achievement in and of itself, but he harped on the fact that like one of the first revolutionary games of all time was Mario, and this is a game that's being celebrated as like the Mario for a new generation. And it was really important to him that it's a game that like grown-ups can really enjoy. You play through it and you really have fun, and kids can play it. This could be that first landmark game for some kid out there. And that kind of resonated as like, okay, I could see that. This could be the first game one of my kids play and remembers, and it'll stick in their mind like Super Mario Brothers 3. But Adam, thank you for letting me rant about the Game Awards. We'll talk later about the announcements. But yeah, take us
that's
on out,
it.
man.
Let us know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you think they need to change the categories? What is the Game Awards doing wrong? You tell us in the comments. Till next time, see ya.